Welcome to the SEEK24 podcast. My name is John Michael Lucido, and this podcast will feature some of our favorite podcasters recorded live at the Spoke Street Media booth during SEEK24 in St. Louis. We hope these give you a glimpse of the energy and passion from the conference and help you in your faith journey. Enjoy.
Hello, is this thing on? Hello. Hi, you guys.
Hi,
How's it going?
everyone.
I feel like I'm on the Today Show. If this is what the news is like, I never want to be on the news. I'll tell you that. I really don't. We are the Daily Nothings podcast. And it is absolutely insane to be recording live. It is nothing like recording in person together, videoing.
On the internet,
it's like,
yeah.
When we record via video, it really feels like COVID. You can wear whatever
Yes.
you want from the waist down.
Correct.
But you've got to have the show on up top. And now everything is out
You're
for you all to
here,
see.
we're here,
It's great.
it's happening.
Yeah, I was telling Megan before, I feel like SpongeBob right now when he is trying to pass his driving test. And he just keeps saying over and over again, what I learned in boating school is, what I learned in boating school is. And you're
I'm like,
like,
what are we
I
going
can do
to
this."
say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling Courtney, I'm like, okay, I think maybe I should look up some definitions of some words we're going to talk about today, and I can read that. And she's like, Megan, this isn't a college speech class. We're
Chill
just going
out.
to chat.
We do this twice a week, every week.
It's
but all of a
not
sudden,
that
you're all
deep.
here looking at me, hearing me speak, and my mouth feels weird, and I'm shaky. But that's why we're going to talk about authenticity today.
That's our topic.
That's right. We're going to talk about authenticity. And this is why we're talking about authenticity. I feel like Seek is a really beautiful place. It brings out so many emotions in everyone.
Correct.
If you're not in a hallway crying by a trash can at one point in Seek, you've done it wrong.
You've all
You
done
should
it.
go
We
home
know.
and try it again.
Yeah.
And we have to tell you about our little tears on the ground yesterday because Megan started, which is weird. She
Not
doesn't
normal.
cry. I
No.
cry. I'm the emotional one. But since she's had a baby, she's taken that cross from me, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
And yesterday, we decided to take a little break. We go to this hallway. We're just chatting. Also, honest to God, not chatting. I had
Correct.
my feet up on a wall so that all of the blood would drain out of my feet so that I would be able to walk again.
Yeah.
We're not really talking to one another, and all of a sudden, Monsignor Shea walks by. And it was after the talk that ruined my life for the rest of existence in
Yeah.
the best way. He
Yeah.
did such a great job. And all of a sudden, Megan just starts
I just start
sobbing.
bawling, my eyes out. And I don't do that. I also don't fangirl
Never.
too hard about mostly
Ever.
anything.
We ran into Brett Eldridge in the LAX airport once, and I walked straight up to him and said, "Hi, are you Brett Eldridge?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Could we get a selfie?" And he said, "Why, of course." And then he takes the phone and takes 3 selfies with me. I think he's a little vain, but we're working through it.
Yeah.
I am the fangirl kind of girl.
And I'm like, I do
Megan's
not
like,
care
who's Brett
about-
Eldridge?
I
His
don't really
songs are
care
annoying.
about him.
But she sees Monsignor Shea, and
He
she
just
starts
walks
sobbing.
by, and I just start crying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it literally just felt like Jesus walked by because the man is so holy.
He's so holy.
And loves the Lord so much. And it was just
Yeah.
like, he's so authentic and beautiful. And
Yeah.
sometimes that level of authenticity can pierce your heart
So much.
and make you
Yeah.
just cry.
Totally.
And it was a really good release of emotion. I needed it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Totally.
But it was just
It felt
insane.
great.
It was wild.
And we were cracking up crying, which is my favorite version of crying. It's the best way to do
yeah.
it.
Hopefully no one saw that.
Oh, people definitely did. And it was just one of those like, aw. And I've seen
Those
so
poor
many
girls.
like girlies that are like maybe breaking up with their boyfriend or like
Yeah.
saying yes to
I've
being a
seen a lot
focused
of those.
missionary. And they're just sobbing and they're like receiving the will of God in their hands. And I'm like, yes,
Yes.
they're doing it right.
Yeah.
But we were just cracking up crying, and we were just thinking about why Monsignor Shea's talk was one of our favorites that we've heard at Seek, and also just like the beauty and freedom in authenticity.
Yeah.
And specifically, I was praying with authenticity right before we came here, and I was talking to the Lord. I was like, okay, Lord, here's the skinny. This is a 911 phone call. I'm about to go in front of a ton of strangers and talk to them about whatever you want me to talk to them about. Is there anything you'd like to relay over to them? And he just looked at me and so clearly was like, isn't a free daughter the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
got it. I'm taking it to the mic. It's so free. It's so beautiful when we are truly free. And I don't think that freedom can actually occur without authenticity. And it's been really cool to meet so many people, all of you little pipsqueaks eating Funyuns in the front row, that are so into the podcast. And you guys are always like, you guys are just so relatable. You're so authentic. It's so awesome to meet you. And it is beautiful to be free and to be authentic on this podcast.
Yes.
But I really just like pray so deeply that we can continue, especially as women and men. I think men are really good at being authentic. It's one of their like powers. I don't know. I'm not a man. If not, try to be better. But for women specifically, it's so beautiful when we are authentic with one another. When someone comes up to me and they're like, how are you doing? And I'm like, awful. I'd actually love it if you didn't speak to me right now. I really need to go home, and I smell, and I'm very hungry, and I ate lunch at 4 p.m., and I'm in a bad way at the moment. Let's call a spade a spade. I'm not great.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful because then you laugh, I laugh, and we're honest with each other, and it's so free. But when we're not free, what are we? We're fake.
We're
and
slaves.
nobody likes that. And I think that that's why it was so overwhelming when we saw Monsignor Shea yesterday, because he's so himself. Like, he accepted the Good Friday priest role. Like, he just him.
Yeah.
And obviously I don't know him personally, but that's how I can like receive him, as just like a little girl just watching.
Right.
And it's just so cool to witness such freedom and such authenticity. And that's when conversion can happen, because you're living as a daughter, you're living in your free identity. And it all goes back to the mission of the Daily Nothings and why we even did this.
Right.
And Megan was really the one that like steered the ship on this podcast. I was the negative Nelly, as I've said, if you've listened to the podcast before, that was like, I have no time for that. There's no chance I'm doing it. And I remember when we were trying to figure out what the podcast was going to be about too.
Yeah.
And I think that I remember it, which maybe I'm blacking out, of you being like, this is what we have to do. Like, this is the concept that we need to be doing. We just need to come up with a name for it.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
Yeah, because I was like, the daily, it's like those sweet nothings in your life. I think that's where it kind of originated, which we have such a funny story about sweet nothings with Zoe.
Oh, yes.
That I think you just have to share. Zoe is here.
Zoe waved. Yes.
Yeah,
she formed us in college. She went through the ringer. I looked at her day one and I said, I don't like you. You're weird. Don't talk to me.
I did the same.
You're annoying me. Don't make me cry on your floor. I won't do it. And then I became a focused missionary.
Yeah. But no, okay. The Sweet Nothings. Okay, the Sweet Nothings story. Because I'm like, the Sweet Nothings is kind of a weird name for a podcast. It got to the Daily Nothings. But we had a slumber party with Zoe at her house.
This was the worst night of my life. Literally. It's all been uphill for me.
I am like anti-slumbies at this point. I'm like, I just want to sleep in my own bed. It's fine. But we're sitting there. I'm like, I'm falling asleep. Courtney's falling asleep. And what does Zoe do to you?
Zoe was sleeping on the floor. And I was on the couch because I was the queen. I didn't care. I was so rude. Everyone was on the floor. Without question, I'm on the couch. Back away. It's my couch. It wasn't even discussed. Everyone in the Bible study knew that's Courtney's couch. She's the queen of the ship. And I was. That's why I became a focus missionary. I'm not plugging focus, but like, you should maybe apply. Regardless, I was laying on the couch, fast asleep. I had done my routine. If you know me, I have a routine. You guys know.
You know.
And I was fast asleep, a little angel. And Zoe, being the weird woman that she is, that I love so much, that changed my life forever and brought me to intimacy with Christ.
Correct.
Dead silent, jumps up, gets in my ear and goes, sweet nothings, and whispers sweet nothings in my ear. Because she said all week, she was like, I'm going to have you over for a slumber party, and I'm going to whisper sweet nothings to you in the middle of the night. And then she literally said sweet nothings.
The word sweet
She's just
nothings.
weird. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's how we got to the daily, the
yeah.
little things in our day that
transform you. Yeah.
And that's kind of like where the podcast started, and that's where it's gone.
And I was thinking about, too, we've talked a lot about Saint Therese this week with different people that we've met. And we went to see the first class relic of her in the chapel that's right upstairs. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. And I was looking at her and I was just talking, and I was thinking about specifically one of the famous stories of her when she's in the chapel and her sister's praying the rosary, and it's clanking up against the pew, and it's annoying the living daylights out of her. And she's just extremely annoyed, and she's writing about how annoyed she is. And I think that that's one of my favorite things about Saint Therese. I don't read a lot of holy books. I want to be better at it, but I've read a lot of her books.
Yeah.
And she just writes about how annoyed she is. And she's like, I hate this. She's driving me crazy. But she like then in that moment addresses the authentic feeling and then also offers it up to Christ in that exact same time. And that's what I've wanted this podcast to be so much, of being very honest and not being fake in a way of like, no, that would never bother me. Like,
of course,
a rosary clanking against a pew, whatever. I don't get bothered by things like that. I'm Catholic. I don't get bothered.
That's correct.
I offer everything up. I'm never, ever frustrated with suffering. The entire concept of suffering is my absolute favorite. And that's not how I feel. It's so freeing to be honest. And I think that in a society where we're at right now in this day and age with social media and perfection and being an influencer, it is literally like everyone's favorite thing is just being perfect all the time and being extremely fake. And I just think it's scary. It's scary that there are little girls that are saying to their parents, I want to be an influencer when I grow up.
Yeah.
That's a nightmare.
And I think that's why, like, we try to make our mission so authentic.
Yeah.
Like, there's prudence within authenticity, and we're not saying that a stranger that comes up to you and says, how are you doing? You spill your whole life story
Please
to them.
don't.
That's not the level of authenticity we're talking about
and
here.
I think that that's within the pendulum, too. We were talking through this earlier today. Eating Chipotle in our beds, processing how on earth we're going to get through this on stage. I think we're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
But thank you. But we were talking about, too, how annoying it is within authenticity when you share too much. And how annoying might be a little bit of a harsh word, but like prudence within what you're experiencing and how you're doing. It should be first between you and the Lord. And I think that we desire authenticity so much as women that then we overshare with everyone so that everyone can feel like their best friend and you feel fully accepted as you are in that moment because you're Catholic. It's like the other end of it, right?
Right.
And so it's so beautiful when you can really find that perfect pocket of just like resting with God and first going to Him with where you're honestly at, figuring out how you want to explain that to others, and then sharing that version of yourself because you are encountering the gospel. You're encountering something so beautiful and authentic when you are just yourself. It's so cool. I think that that's something that I've been praying with too in Mass. It's like every single encounter that the Lord has when you're receiving Him in the Eucharist, it's like He is taking a little bit of His heart and presenting it to the daughter that He, or son, there are men here, that He created, and He's peeling off a piece of His flesh and presenting it to you. And He is so in love with you. And that moment of authenticity is like, that's it. That's what we want. That's what we're hoping for. And obviously, that level is for you and Him. It's for you and the Lord. But then how can we take those moments of, I desire to be authentic with this person, and still find a way to be authentic in a certain sense, to a certain degree, so that that person can still encounter Christ throughout the day, because we are the body of Christ, right?
Yeah.
And so if we're walking vessels and we're aware of that tabernacle that we are, and then we can spread that authenticity instead of what other people want you to be,
right?
That is going to change the world.
Well, yeah, and I think something Focus talks about, obviously, is authentic friendship.
Yeah.
And I feel like they never preach it in terms of you're supposed to be authentically friends with every single person on campus.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to be authentically friends with your
small group of people.
Your group of people.
Yeah.
And that, I think, it's like you share your heart with those people at a certain level, or in your vocation, you share your heart with your spouse at a deeper level than with anyone else outside of the Lord.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, there's like levels. And then it's like, okay, and then we get to a podcast where any number of people could be hearing anything we say.
Absolutely.
And there is a level of authenticity. There's a level of prudence where I'm like, okay, we're not going to share that. But I still want you to know that we are on the journey with you.
Yeah.
We are struggling. Being a saint is really hard.
Far from it.
Being holy is so hard.
Yeah.
But we are trying so hard with you. And I think that's what we want to portray. Yeah. We never want to portray perfection, and I think we don't. I feel like we're constantly talking about how we're falling short, but I just, I hope it's encouraging to everyone.
Totally.
And I feel like that's the authenticity we're trying to share.
Totally.
Especially on the podcast.
Totally. And I think that as you're growing up too, like if you think about the way that you were in high school, like go back to high school, whoever you are, for a moment. Reflect on where you were, what you were wearing, what you were saying, what you were listening to, all of the little daily nothings that were a part of your everyday. For me, I was in all sorts of weird clothes. I was listening to everything from the Lumineers to Lil Wayne. and I know every word.
Don't tempt
Don't tempt me. I've got the mic. And eating garbage. My snack after high school, I would stop at the gas station in Converse, Indiana, and every day I would get a blueberry cake donut, a bag of buffalo wing flavored Ruffles, and a 32-ounce Barks root beer. And I was thinner than ever.
Can I tell you what mine was?
Yes.
I would get a yellow Red Bull and a pack of the sweet and sour Skittles that they don't make anymore, and I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
I would eat that every day.
And we were disgusting.
It's disgusting.
That's a little daily nothing. Repulsive people. You're hanging out with you're trying to figure out who you are. You're wanting to be it so badly. And then you grow up and you evolve and you become more of who you were created to be. And I think that with that, you're learning what authenticity is. And as you're learning what authenticity is, like, you have the power as a beloved child of God to use that gift of authenticity to whatever degree you decide. And I think that that's what I really wanted to communicate with you all, of like, wherever you're at with Seek, wherever you're at, whoever you've spoken to, whatever has penetrated your heart, whatever that thing is that you're like, it's 2024, I'm gonna be different, I'm gonna do this right. Like, bring it to God and don't set a expectation or an unreal behavior for yourself. Bring it to Him. That desire is great. And figure out what that mission is that He has called you to and why that specific thing is setting your heart on fire, and ask Him how He wants you to use it so that you, as the daughter that you are or the son that you are, can change the world. Because when we're just doing things for the sake of doing them because everyone else is doing them, it's not going to be great.
Right.
You have to look at your gifts and be like, I am good at this, Lord, and I'm aware of that. This is not me being arrogant. How can I use these gifts with this desire to be holier and combine it with authenticity to then create a riot in the Catholic Church and transform hearts this year in 2024? Because that's the whole point. It's not just to be like cute and free and authentic, you know? It's like to change hearts. It's for the kingdom. It's to swarm heaven, you know?
Yeah. I think that's like how you become a saint.
Truly.
Like, sainthood is like your full self without sin.
Yeah.
And it's just like you're becoming who you were meant to be.
Yeah.
And I don't know, when I was thinking about authentic friendship, especially, I was just like, it always points back to the Lord.
Yeah.
And that is what authenticity does. It brings you to your Creator. It brings you back to who you were made to be.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is like the most beautiful part of authentic friendship.
Totally.
I'm so grateful to have you as a friend, because you just point me back to Him all the time. Like, if we have something come up, we have our moment, we discuss it, we get there, we get it out. Yeah. It's ugly. Yeah. And then we go back to Him.
If you're not looking at your friend with, Megan looked at me this morning with tears in her eyes a little bit, and she was mad at me. We're not going to say why. That's private. Prudence. But if you're not looking at your friendship and being like, you're annoying the living daylights out of me, and this is why, figure it out. That's is the
not
year.
Authentic. I was authentic this morning.
This is the year. Not easy. No. And she was nervous. She was a little scared. I'm scary. I get it.
Courtney's going to get mad at me because I'm mad at her.
I'm a little upset with you right now, and that's how she did it. It was really good.
But I did it. I was honest.
Confrontation's the cutest thing you can do. Okay? Scary, though. But if you're not in that place, like, I challenge you to figure that out this year, because we've got to stop being fake with each other. I've had it. It's just not it. It's not it. It's not the gospel.
For 2024.
I got a yes over there. Yeehaw.
She gets it.
Yep. And it's time. I'm over it. No more fake. I've had it. Fake no more in 2024.
We did it. We found the t-shirt. We found it. That's our t-shirt. Yeah. No, it's so true. I think I'm like, Courtney, you are a recovering people pleaser.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And I feel like the authenticity has like amped up.
Yeah.
Where you have like set the boundaries you're like setting.
Right.
To allow yourself to be who you need to be instead of who you need to be for other people, or what other people want you to be for them.
Right.
And it's challenging, but it's awesome. And that's that has allowed you to be free.
Right.
Which all the buzzwords were hitting just like back and forth. But it's like, that's where
it's true
freedom
though.
lies.
And I think that we will continue to talk ourselves in circles here until you really either are convicted of it before you have to go through it or go through it. Because I feel like this last year has just been like chaos of like thing after thing after thing in my life. It's just been so busy and so overwhelming, and it's just to try to please other people. And with that, I hit rock bottom, and I was like, all right, we've reached bottom. Yep. Bikini bottom. This podcast goes out to SpongeBob for sure.
Love you.
And love you so much. You and your square pants. You guys make me feel like I'm a lot funnier than I am. Just this row. No one over here is laughing. It's just here. So pick it up if you could. That'd be great. Thank you so much. I don't even remember what I was saying. Bottom, bikini bottom. And I was like, okay, we've reached bottom. We hate this. I'm sick. I'm tired. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I've got to change things. And I think that I didn't even really like get out of bed and say, I'm going to be different. It just kind of was this like natural progression of like, I have to be better. I have to be more in tune with the Lord. I'm not even going to see him at this point because I'm always worrying about pleasing other people. And now we got to cut it out because sainthood is on the line. And I can't be like, okay, Lord, once wedding season's over, this divine intimacy we're going to have, watch out. Yep. Because I am not promised all of that time. I know that it's kind of scary to always talk like that, but it's like you have to start doing these things right now. You need to start changing these things right now, continuing this habit, whatever it may be. Maybe you might not struggle with people pleasing the way that I do, but whatever it is, it's like it's time to break the pattern. It's time to be a saint. It's time to be authentic. And it's a new year. Like this is such a great time to go, all right, let's change things. Good. Let's be different. Let's be better. Let's be free daughters, because as Jesus said, it is literally, there's nothing more beautiful than a free daughter that's not worried about what makeup she has on, the perfect dress that she has to wear, if her hair's flowing perfectly over her right shoulder like mine. Like,
Courtney has checked all those boxes today, but it's not the point.
I mean, I am flawless, but like all of you can try as hard as you'd like. I'm completely kidding. If you don't listen to this podcast, this is the humor that we normally have. You're not going to get it. I made a joke at my booth, and she didn't listen to the podcast. If you're out there, I said it, and she went, what?
It was so
And
awkward.
I was like, oh, you don't listen to the podcast. I'm sorry. Have a great day.
Love you.
Come back. Yeah. So, I don't know. It's just like, this is the time.
Time is now.
It's time to wake up and figure it out. And get your poop in a group, you know?
Good job. Don't need to beep that out.
No, thank you. Yes. So, we really wanted to share that with you guys because seriously, that is the mission of the Daily Nothings. It is all of the little things every single day that the world is like, it doesn't matter. It's no big deal if you're just fake in this moment and you're just exactly what that person in front of you wants you to be. You can just fake it. It's fine. You'll be good. And then before you know it, that's your routine for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and that's who you become.
Truly.
Yeah.
And you don't even know yourself anymore. You're like, where did that girl go? And you look at pictures of yourself as a little kid and you're like, I want to be free again. What happened? Yeah. And it's hard and it's sad and you don't want that, you know? It's like you got to get back into it. You got to recenter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only way to do that through divine intimacy with the Lord.
Truly. And looking at things in a little way, like not getting overwhelmed. Just taking it one step at a time. Taking small bites and realizing
one daily nothing at a time.
One daily nothing at a time.
We're saints in heaven, all together.
Truly. Every sip, bite, song, walk, prayer, chat, and snooze. I love it. If I do a hang loose one more time, someone cut my hands off.
You gotta go.
This is unacceptable. Anyway.
I feel like.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of a wrap, you guys.
What we got for you guys. I don't know.
High five. Thanks for having us, Focus. This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right. We love you guys. Bye.
Come to our booth. See
you there. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. For more info on the SEEK conference, visit seek.focus.org. This episode of the SEEK24 podcast was produced by Spoke Street. For more great podcasts, visit spokestreet.com.